to decision making. That's where we're at the end. Yes, decision.
Okay, so how does this decision making work in a world where gravity's pulling you along in all different directions?
Yeah. So the idea was that the patterns are pulling us around,
Yeah.
and using, abstract versions of like gravity.
Some kind of pulling force,
Sure.
attractive force.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe the same forces that are kind of holding, molecules together are actually the same sort of abstract versions are holding together these patterns. So these patterns are basically moving around based on some sort of physics.
Mm-hmm.
So it's physics, and that's what's so interesting about physics, is that it's always kind of defying reality. There's always
we look to physics for answers.
Sure, physics,
to explain the world around us. Why did that apple fall to the ground?
Exactly, right? So, traditionally when we look at, human behavior, there's no physics, right? Like, it's not physics per se.
Like what? There's no written rule that explains all human behavior.
Right?
Yeah. There's nothing to say, why does this person do this over this?
No, it's kind of like, well, they like this, or they're born this way.
Subjective.
It's very subjective.
Yeah.
So I'm taking the approach that it's going to be physics that is really going to guide decision making and people's movement. So it's really the idea of having a person go from here to there, here, moving around, because they're really just like, a falling apple, but the person is a complex path. And at the end, it's just to say that there's physics that are guiding both things, like a falling apple or a person moving from one point to another, or an animal or an object being displaced from one place to another. It ends up happening in this mind space is that when you have these 12 dimensions, this is no longer an object. This is now a symbol. So everything are symbols at this point.
Right.
So
we're saying a symbol, for the sake of the word, is something that
has
all 12 dimensions.
Yes. What happens is symbols are manifestation of these patterns. So the patterns exist in this abstract kind of space, and then they reflect symbols around us as a reflection of their size and their mass and their being.
So does one of these patterns reflect many symbols?
Yeah, it can reflect many symbols, and the symbols
so
can be interrelated. They're all going to be related to the pattern. So pattern of math, like this would be reflected from a math pattern as well. Like if there's a mathematics kind of concept or meaning circle, if they're like the circles get pretty abstract. They don't necessarily just represent people. They can represent giant ideas and concepts. It's collective thought. It really represents thought.
The thing that everybody's thinking.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So these things come out of those. I mean, this world is, even myself, I can't really comprehend what an abstract space would look like. It could be so complex and massive, but we're drawn towards symbols. So as we share relationships with things, we then interact with the symbolic version of those patterns. Exactly. Well, you have a pair of motorcycle sunglasses there, and it's because you drive a motorcycle. You have a relationship with motorcycles, so they show up. And then if you had a lot of motorcycles, you probably be wearing like a motorcycle shirt, because you're so into motorcycles. Because you have like 10 motorcycles.
Yeah, those relationships are more concentrated.
You have so many, so therefore you'd have more things around you related to motorcycles.
Right,
and they would
those
show
relationships are deeper, so there's more connections, more circles,
more mass. Exactly, more circles, more lines, more connections, more mass, bigger value, more things around you, bigger attraction, more things around you. So these things represent the patterns. I'm moving around in this abstract space through forces, then I look like I'm doing something in physical space, interacting with it.
That is actually in abstract space, that's your patterns going closer to those patterns.
Yes.
Making more connections.
Yes.
Making those little lines between your circles and this symbol's circles.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's say I'm getting really close to the apple symbol, like the apple pattern in space. My pattern is getting very close to it.
Okay.
I will then be seen in physical space interacting. As soon as I get into a certain critical spot, I will then be seen interacting with an Apple product.
We're talking about the circles and lines.
The circles and
in
lines,
the abstract
yeah,
universe.
in the abstract, yeah.
So, what kind of defines the way they would look to us or their shape?
Yeah.
Right? Is that?
Yeah. Like, well, I mean, there's got to be things that are forces that are holding the patterns together.
Yeah.
And then there's forces that make the patterns move around and interact. So those forces might be comparable to the ones in our physical world that we experience as gravity, we experience as light.
What we would call our physical laws.
Exactly,
yeah.
right? And then those are really just reflections of maybe these abstract kind of laws.
Okay.